safe. So there's not 100% guarantee that's going to work, and there's not 100% guarantee it's not going to kill the person, because some people do have irregular, Donna would be able to speak to that. But you're much, much less likely to have to defend yourself after the fact in court because you killed either the intruder or you missed the intruder and shot your neighbor. So having, so having one of these, and you wonder why the police don't use them more often, and they're starting to. And it's literally, I mean, somebody doesn't have to end their life that moment forever because they're making a bad mistake at that time. You just want to subdue them. You want to neutralize the threat and allow both you and them to get on with their lives. So this carries a cartridge. It shoots 15 feet, has 2 prongs in it, and it'll shoot through most clothing. And this is the larger unit. They also make smaller handheld ones. I mean, you don't want to be walking around with this on. But every time I go to San Francisco and visit my brother, I am carrying this. It's a Taser Pulse. It's much smaller, easier to carry. You can carry it in a jacket, and it gives you a fighting chance. You don't want to deliberately disarm yourself, especially when you go out in public, when you're going to downtown Los Angeles, places that unfortunately now are places that aren't as safe as they were 10 years ago. So at your house, if someone breaks in, you can tell them that you're armed. If they see this laser go on them, that's going to make them probably find an easier target. Most criminals are just looking for an easy opportunity. There's a reason why police stations don't usually get robbed. They go for people in places that are not going to provide, an armed response. They want people that are easy to get. And a Taser is not just going to save their life, it's going to not ruin yours.
So with that in mind, could we just tell everyone here that there's certain items that they're interested in, that they let you know, that we could put a list together and see about pricing?
My Taser looks like just the base of yours, and I have my nice office in La Jolla. I walk in and walk out with it every day.
Wow.
In my hand.
Okay, that's good testimonial there. Now, is that a stun gun or a Taser?
Both.
Yeah, okay, so...
But it is a Taser.
It does shoot.
Shot it.
Okay, yeah, so good. It's a yeah, it's a that has the serial number on it. Yeah. So, yeah, it's every Taser is also a stun gun, so after you've expended the cartridge, you get a second chance, and it becomes a stun gun. So, and that's something I've used at a dog park before. It'll stop an animal, and if there's an animal about to...
Touch the person or the animal?
You do, and that, so the initial shot, you don't, 15 feet away, but after they're still coming at you or there's another attacker, you do have to make contact. So I keep a backup cartridge in the stock of this one, and then you have a third chance with the Taser. But yeah, at a dog park, or if you see your Yorkie being dragged away by a coyote, you could either try to shoot it, but more likely the sound is going to stop most animals just in their tracks. Not all of them, but again, you want to give yourself more than nothing in terms of a fighting chance. And
go back to just also what Deborah said, not to be belaboring this, but very often you come up with things and I think, oh, I need to buy that, or that's something, and then I don't do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to tell people, if you feel, oh, I really may want to buy that item or buy that Yeti or whatever, make a note, and then we can, circle back with you guys and see if we can do better on pricing. I know that Yeti was almost $1,000, but it's been worth its weight in gold. I'm probably going to get a second one. So there may be a few key things that you think, it gets costly. I mean, it's an investment.
It might be good to offer it to all the community.
Yeah, we thought about that. I mean, but I'm just throwing that out there. If you're really interested, we could talk later or get together later about
Last time on the water, I just filled my Amazon cart, and then with items that you mentioned, and then Robert and I discussed them later, and we picked which ones were good.
Oh, that's
a good idea. Yeah.
Great idea.
Okay. Yeah, and with water, the Berkey water filter is one that I use the most, but everything's controversial. They can't sell most of those filters in California because Berkey refuses to give up its proprietary information, and they don't want counterfeits. But it has never let me down. You can filter not just your pool water, but any stagnant pond, creek, we have creeks running through Santa Luz, which are basically an unlimited supply of water. And if you really have to shelter in place when you're having the worst day ever, you have no water, you can't come outside the room, it will filter urine. So that is kind of an overkill filter, but I have it in our kitchen, not because that's how I fill it every morning, but it's it actually makes all the water just taste better. The water out of the tap here just doesn't taste good, and it leads to people not drinking enough water. But it makes the coffee taste better. It makes the coffee machine work better. You don't have to descale it as often. So having a portable water filter is really key for obvious reasons and some less obvious ones. So cooking during an electrical and or natural gas outage, let's say Lynn, if I can call on you, the student, if you have no power, you have no gas, and you want to cook, what would you do? What are your plans for now?
Barbecue.
Good. Okay, that's one. And then, do you have a gas barbecue?
Yeah, but
Okay.
if it's out of gas, I have also another barbecue that would use charcoal or wood.
Good. And can you hook up a propane tank to your barbecue?
No.
Okay. So a lot of the gas barbecues, you can outfit them to use an individual propane tank. And propane is an incredibly versatile fuel. It basically will last forever. You probably want to get a 33-gallon canister. Most of the standard ones you see are the 20-pound. I'd go with a 33-pound. And they go up to 100. They go beyond that. In terms of portability, you can get it 100-gallon, but you're not going to be able to move those easily. But if it's just for emergency backup, then that's something to consider. But make sure you have a qualified installer give you the adapter kit so you can take it from the hard line from your house into a portable canister. So that gives you propane. But the weakness with any stored fuel is you're using more and more and having less and less. So with a regular barbecue, even a charcoal barbecue, you can burn any combustibles. You can use the wood. I recommend for most people having a saw. And the Silky Saw is my favorite. And that's extremely easy to cut down branches with. It's SILKY. And they're made in Japan. They're designed to cut on the pull stroke, so don't push, but it's almost effortless. And they go from reasonably sized to giant, but they're collapsible. This is a SOG machete. You can cut with that, but there's really no limit to how much combustible material, which is a double-edged sword. There's combustible material that's going to potentially burn down our homes, but it's also there to be used to cook with.
Is that one of the saws?
This is not the Silky. This is a SOG. I'd recommend the Silky over SOG. Silky is much better for that kind of stuff. And I would also check out a rocket stove. So Solo Stove makes a large version of something like this, where I keep this in my bug out kit. But what this allows you to do is take advantage of the fact that when you're camping, there's an unlimited supply of fuel, and that's twigs and sticks, and you just put them in the bottom, and then once you put something on top, you can cook with it. You just keep feeding it with little sticks and twigs. You can grab a large one and just cut it into smaller pieces, and now you don't have to carry those fuel canisters with you or in your car or into the backcountry. You just make do with what is available for you. And the Solo Stove, I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. You can use logs, you can use much larger combustibles. You're going to have papers around your house, things that you could easily discard. You have multiple options for when there's no power and there's no gas. And if you have a generator or a power station, you can use a pressure cooker. So I did a test. I have a video where I used a sous vide and the pressure cooker to see which one is more efficient. So a sous vide, does anybody not know what a sous vide is? I know in a place like this, more people are going to know what a sous vide is than like in Chula Vista. But so a sous vide would be really efficient because you plug it in to an electrical source, and you're just heating that immediate bath of water. You're not heating the whole oven, which is really inefficient. And better yet, a pressure cooker will cook a completely frozen steak to done in about 10 minutes. And it uses a fraction of the electricity that your oven would. So, you know, there's a lot of marketing that these contractors are doing to get whole home backup systems. So Generac is one. Their stock shot up huge during 2020. That's a whole home generator, but you need gas, you need to maintain it. Extremely expensive to buy, install, and operate and maintain. And it's loud. So one of the disadvantages of having a gas generator that broadcasts to everybody else that, like, hey, I got power and I probably have food, so I am the target. You are broadcasting with the sound, with the smell, with the smoke that you are prepared. And it doesn't matter what you prepare, what you prep, if you can't protect it. So these have another advantage over gas generators, is that they're silent. And the gas generator is not something you can bring inside. So you most likely want to stay inside. And you don't want to have to run huge extension cords, because you need huge extension cords. You can't just run, you know, outlet strips like this. There's thousands of fires throughout the country every year, and that's because people overload these. And they're not heavy duty enough, they're not thick enough gauge. With extension cords, you want overkill. You can never go too thick, but you can go too long. You want the shortest extension cord for the job, and you want the thickest always. So 12 gauge is ideal. A 10 gauge is thicker than a 12 gauge. 12 gauge is thicker than a 14 gauge. But 12 gauge is ideal, especially with a built-in circuit breaker. So this is the one that I use. It's 80 foot, which, you know, is longer than I would necessarily recommend. And this is 14 gauge, which is the absolute minimum thickness. Do not go above 14 gauge. You can get by with 14 gauge, 12 gauge is better. But this has several additional security steps built in. So it has its own safety overload breaker. So it's not just going to start melting the wires if you overload it. It'll trip the breaker, and it's a resettable breaker. And it has the outlets that are built in here. You don't want to just connect additional extension cords to an extension cord. So, you know, with prepping, you want redundancy. And